Friday, everyone. Welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks, and we finally got Andy, everybody. Not to give it away, but we will be talking about the Yankees acquisition shortly because it's not just a baseball Friday. You know what it's time for, Andy? It's time for Money in the Brank.
Money in the. I know I was gonna make like a cheesy graphic of that, something with his baseball picture, but no, Frank flaked last week. I said, "Hey, can you come on?" He said, "Absolutely, I will. Nothing would stop me." And then 5 minutes, none of this happened. He's like, "No, I got to fly to LA." How was LA, Frank?
Yeah, well, I made it to the Pittsburgh airport. It was a hell of a trip.
Yeah, you didn't go.
Yeah.
How was the Chili's?
I'm trying to decipher in my brain whether or not the risk, like the coin flip chance of not flying, is worth booking Spirit for like half the price. Like the expected value is probably about equal, but my misery was not.
You have to take misery into account.
Again, I was just about to say, maybe we should be nice just in case Spirit ever feels like sponsoring the podcast. But I don't think we're ever getting an airport. If we get an airline, hopefully it's like Sun Country or above. But I have booked 6 or 7 Spirit flights, and I'm batting like 400 on that. Like most of the time it takes off. There's been one just straight up canceled. Like later we found out the pilot. It was likely a Spirit pilot had OD'd the night before. So we think that was probably affecting the availability of pilots in the area. And this got off the rails right away. We're gonna talk baseball. We went straight into Spirit. No, but I would spend like 40 extra bucks, at least go to like Sun Country. You would have made it to LA, and I understand it was the only direct flight. But yeah, Frank is here today. There is no flight. He's just sitting in his basement, hanging out, getting ready to go out and dislodge some beaver dams out on the farm later on today. Watch a little baseball. It's been, we were talking about this week, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a slow week. It's going to suck. But man, between the NBA draft, like the Olympics happening, the fact that golf was on at night, like I'm watching Olympic events, and then every time they cut to like, hey, we're going to talk about this swimmer for 20 minutes and their backstory, and here's between races, like, well, no, I'm watching golf for 20 minutes is what I'm doing. So I'm going to flip over the golf channel. It's just like solid. It's the best golf coverage I've honestly ever seen outside of maybe the Masters. It's like they just show golf all the time because they didn't put any effort into like all these stories about these players. It's like, man, they're just showing golf shots. It's great. So it's been kind of a great week. And yeah, last night was culminated by everybody trying to sign all the same pitchers and hitters because there's like 6 heavy hitting buyers right now. Like that, I don't know, Frank. Like for as far as that goes, year to year, like is this a bit of an aberration for how many big hitter buyers there are that have seemingly unlimited money right now?
Well, I think the aberration is that I think that all the aberration is that like all the good teams are good, right? Like all the high market value teams are good, or at least have a chance, right? Like the Yankees, Red Sox, and Dodgers, and Padres, and now the Giants. People don't look at the Giants because they've had a few down years, but they're one of the highest payrolls in baseball every year. Like all these teams are good. So now it becomes a crazy bidders market where we can afford to pay these guys. We're kind of prospect rich. And even if we aren't, it doesn't really matter because next year, if we need our prospect second baseman that we just traded away, we'll just sign one in free agency and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just find a small market team with a second baseman who's hitting like 285 and like, well, we'll go get him. Like he's available come July. That'd be fine. Yeah, it would be. And again, it's hard for me to be a fan of anybody anymore just because sports, the way sports are now, and then sports betting ruins it for you anyway. But if I was a fan, I wonder if I would be like, I don't hate the spending. Like, I would love to be a Dodgers fan. Like, oh, Trevor Bauer had let's not even get into the Trevor Bauer thing, I guess. Like, one of our major pitchers is having some legal issues. Let's just go sign, one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball. Like to replace him. It's just super wild.
Yeah, Corey Seager is hurt all year, and now we have Trey Turner, who is basically Corey Seager. Like that's nice to have.
And you brought up the NL West, the Giants. The Giants, yeah, it's funny. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Dodgers and Padres bidding war." The Dodgers and Padres are wild card teams right now. Like that's been the joke that I've seen made 100 times as far as like, Scherzer in the wild card game, and like, there's plenty of baseball left, but the Giants don't have that tough of a schedule. Like the Giants winning the division isn't like some super unlikely event just because it's a small lead right now with a bunch of baseball left. Their schedule's not bad, so it sucks as it does. I know a bunch of people have Giants bets, so I'm kind of rooting for them. But it does kind of suck from a baseball watching standpoint that like the Dodgers and Padres might play each other in a wild card game, and that like one of those really good teams is just donezo right away. So, did you? I mean, as far as team power or anything you're doing, did you make any heavy adjustments for the moves other than the Dodgers are just really good still?
Yeah, I mean, from a general sense, the Dodgers are the best team on paper, but that doesn't always work out that way. Bellinger has not played well. A lot of these guys have been in and out. So a lot of these guys are going to project well. That doesn't necessarily mean that the predictive value is there when a lot of these guys have been in and out. Trey Turner's on the COVID list. You don't know what you're coming back to. There's been people that have had mild to no symptoms that have really struggled with fatigue and sort of having issues. Scherzer's been hurt in and out this season. Nothing that serious, luckily, but he has been in and out, and he's 38. I think people in general overrate trades for guys that can play for 6 weeks, and just, the best players in baseball are worth like 1.5 wins over 6 weeks, and you just sold away 6 years of some really good players for that. Now, again, the luxury of being able to do that is that these teams can just go sign whoever they want. And that's why they're prospect rich, because they never have to depend on them. And that's why they always end up being good, because in general, good free agents don't really bust. You at least get something out of them. But I think in general, we overrate teams. And I think we see that in the futures market now. I think we see that just everywhere in terms of baseball, especially in the media and in the market, where Scherzer's going to get a handful of starts here. Like it matters, but like if he was replacing like a truly terrible pitcher, that's one thing. He might be replacing like Tony Gonsolin, who has been like really good over his stints with the Dodgers. So I don't really know what the big value is in that in terms of like an expected value, other than the fact that, well, it's going to look really bad when your most rested guy to pitch in a wild card game against the Padres is Tony Gonsolin and not Max Scherzer, I guess. But, I don't know. I think we overrate these big moves.
To be fair, there's a small chance that allegedly Trevor Bauer is a truly awful pitcher in a different sense of the word.
Fair enough.
It's kind of like, Frank, you were saying, these big teams are picking up really good players, but they're replacing really good players. So it's not as big of an increase. But was there any move yesterday that might be for like a lesser player? Maybe a better question, what was the trade that drove the biggest adjustment for you?
I mean, it is the Dodgers trade, but there's still going to be more today that I think that could be impactful for a team staying in this division. And we mentioned this morning. The Giants have to make a move. The Giants absolutely. What are you doing? Crazy?
What's that? My camera went crazy. I just held my head up to it.
The Giants have to make a move
over his shoulder.
I don't know that there could be a better fit for the Giants than Chris Bryant. I think they should sell out for Chris Bryant, and I think they should go get him. I like, he has to get traded today. You might as well be the guys that go and get him. Because otherwise you're going to be falling behind in terms of these like trade wars, and you can give up much less and sort of get similar value and maybe even more value. Chris Taylor's playing shortstop for the Dodgers, and he's being replaced by Trey Turner eventually, who might have COVID issues. That's not that much of a difference. Chris Taylor's a very, very good baseball player that would be a full-time starter on pretty much almost every team in baseball. Some of the guys on the Giants who have played well considering their lead, like Solano and Estrada and some of these guys, they're not going forward probably going to be as good as Chris Bryant, who we've seen has been one of the better hitters, and he can play outfield. So like if you have infield or outfield problems, and the Giants certainly have infield problems at the corners with Belt and Longoria being injured, who both were having huge years, Chris Bryant cannot be a better fit. I just don't see how they don't go and get him. And I think that would be more impactful, say, than Scherzer replacing a very good pitcher. So I think that move and the eventual moves are going to be much bigger than the ones we've seen.
Yeah, it's kind of blown away. There's still a whole nother day of this. The way everybody was talking about it, I thought it was over last night. So It sounds like we still have a lot left to go.
Yeah, 3 p.m. Central, so we have like 4 hours left, and I kind of hope the Giants made a move. And real, quick on the screen here, we have the NL West odds. Dodgers are minus 215, even 3 games back, but obviously a ton of baseball left. And Dan was kind enough to put the Diamondbacks and Rockies odds to win the NL West up there too at +5 with a shitload of zeros. That is kind of a microcosm of the trade deadline. There are teams that are haves and there are teams that are have-nots, and the Diamondbacks are in the latter of those two groups. We did kind of joke around a little about the Yankees. What did you make of this? Like the Yankees are always going to buy stuff, but like, were they even in the talks for Scherzer, or like was it just not a thing? They just said, let's go get bats, even though Cole's still a very good pitcher. You faced a good offense, but like he's kind of broken right now. And the Yankees, and here the AL champ odds are up. The Yankees are 5th favorite after kind of I've seen some Yankee fans on Twitter all excited. Like, yeah, I'm like, your pitching still sucks. And that's the other thing too you bring up. And I understand the wins above replacement of a really, really high-end pitcher and what that cuts down to when you're saying you're only getting him for 6 weeks. But where that pays off is getting him to start in, short or 7-game, even just a couple times in a 7-game series. Like a high-end pitcher makes a lot more difference in the playoffs, I would think, than getting a couple positional players. And I don't know, what do you make of this Yankees move? And are they just donezo? Are we stuck at 27 again?
Well, they've certainly stuck to their game plan of getting the biggest doofuses they can find to hit the ball out of the park. And I don't mean doofus necessarily in a bad way, just in more of a descriptive way of like, hey, here's Joey Gallo. He is very good defensively, and I think that gets overlooked. He won a Gold Glove, and I think in terms of outs above average, I think he is the best outfielder right now because he throws the ball and runs really clean routes in the outfield. And, to use sort of a football term, I guess, he's very efficient in the outfield. He also hits a lot of home runs. Rizzo also fine defensively, plays first base, so you're not going to get much out of that defensive anyway. They certainly stuck to a game plan of like Luke Voit, Rizzo, Gary Sanchez, Stanton, Judge, like all these guys. They just keep getting more and more homers. And people complain about the strikeouts, but it doesn't. Would you rather have a guy popping up to the infield or selling out and hitting home runs? I'll take the guy that can sell out and hit home runs. In terms of the pitching, though, I'll slightly disagree. They have like the 7th best starter FIP in baseball. The bullpen, though, since June 3rd, talking about Cole, but since that June 3rd memo, the bullpen has been absolutely terrible. They need to make a closer rule and a closer move, and maybe even more than that. And they've led in a lot of games this year that didn't close out, especially recently, especially against the Rays and the Red Sox, where they've blown games, multiple games in a row. In fact, in the back end of that bullpen, they like, not to get too homery here, but they went and got Clay Holmes. He stinks. I've seen him pitch for a number of years. Really good stuff, but he stinks. He's not going to be a guy that you're putting in there with the lead. Oh, bye, Alex. Hello, Alex. And then on top of that, they could maybe add Rich Rod, right? They could add some of these guys from the Pirates, Chris Stratton, who could be actual useful relievers for them. And it's not, they just haven't done that. So I expect them to do that today. Again, I don't think they're gaining a whole lot, but as a whole, the offense has been more disappointing to me than the starters, but the bullpen is the biggest piece of it. They're going to have to close out games, and they need Garrett Cole to be Garrett Cole. Otherwise, they're in the hole for like $200 million and just wasted it all because just on the basis of that he was cheating and now stinks.
And got a stupid haircut. He looks dumb now. He doesn't look intimidating at all.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Can't have a stupid haircut as a pitcher.
Well, you really should. Yeah, he was a lot better when he was cheating. Like that's just, that's gonna go for that's gonna go for a lot of guys. So that is my hot baseball take for the day. Betting. Like we're gonna bet. You gave out. You know what? I'm gonna just say it like it was. You gave out a loser last time. Your pick didn't win a couple weeks ago. But
that was my first one.
But yeah, it was the first time ever. Like 5-1-1 all time.
Whatever and one.
So like, I'll give you a pass. I will give you a pass. And real quick too, a comment here in the chat says Rizzo's a perfect fit for the Yankees. Don't mean that in a good way. kind of spot on there.
Yeah.
But you do have a side you like today. You want to talk about that? So I have something to bet that's not just 200-meter women's backstroke tonight.
Yeah, and I will preface this with that I played this number at a slightly better price. It was a way better price last night. Cardinals going against your Twins today. I don't really get this number. If the Twins are full go, I still make this about -115. It's sitting out there at -104. Austin this morning said the same thing. He had this play as well. He said his number was closer to 120. And it's not that we're super high on LeBlanc. I've been a little bit fadey with Barrios. I think he's been a little bit lucky this year, and I think he's still generally a little bit overrated because he has crazy movement, although he doesn't necessarily get a ton of strikeouts all the time. All of that being said, I don't even expect Barrios to pitch this game. So
I was just gonna say that. Like, should we play it at an action book so you make sure, like, when Barrios gets scratched because he's getting traded, like you make sure you have this pick in when it jumps to -140.
On top of that, I don't know if Kepler's going to be here today. I don't know if Donaldson will be there. I could see Sano getting moved. I could see any of these guys. That the back end of the bullpen for the Twins has been horrible, but those guys have really good stuff and have underperformed. They're probably going to trade at least some of those guys today. So I don't see. I could see 3 or 4 guys going today in the next 4 hours, and this number could get, depending on who's coming in, like if it's like Dobnak and Shoemaker, love the guys, lunch pail guys, but I don't see how this number doesn't end up being like it. Just say if Barrios doesn't go and everyone else is still in the lineup, that number will go to 140 or something, right? So this is going to be a huge shift in my opinion, on top of the fact that Donaldson might get moved, Kepler might get moved, Sano might get moved, some of the bullpen pieces might get moved, and in the starter, I would say there's better than a coin flip chance that he goes. There's been 3 or 4 teams reportedly in on him, maybe a little bit bidding war. The Twins are not going to find a better opportunity to sell high on Barrios than right now, in my opinion. So they have to let him go. And you can play this number. If you want to play action play, I would say to do that. If you can't do that, and for some reason, somehow Barrios still is on this team and still pitches, the odds that this lineup doesn't get substantially worse are extremely slim. So I would say that you can play this Cardinals number regardless. But obviously, if you can play action, definitely play the action here.
Yeah, I just found a -102 with some action. Some books last year just said we're done effing around with listed pitcher stuff with the COVID stuff, and it is interesting this time of year. Is there anybody, before we let you go? I know you got to go do some other stuff here today. I think you have a tea time or something. So, is there anybody on the Cardinals that's looking to move to? Just kind of a devil's advocate there.
They'll make some sideways moves, but the Cardinals aren't in a position to, they're never in a position to really sell off. Right? So, it's not like Arenado or Goldschmidt or anything like that is going to be changing sides here. I would be very, very, very surprised if anything like that happened. They may not do anything. I think that's probably the most likely outcome, but they could also make some sideways moves that just aren't going to impact the game the way that like Wade LeBlanc could get traded. I don't care. He's just a placeholder right now. And this bet is purely based on the fact that the Twins' best starter is probably going to be gone.
I like it. All right, cool. Well, Frank, thanks for joining us. Before you go, who wins the Olympic gold medal for the golf? I know you didn't bet it. You didn't
Rory.
Bet it. You have to say, don't say Rory. Come on. He doesn't even like Ireland. All right. Frank, thanks a lot. You can find him at Real Frank Brank. He's always doing baseball stuff. And he's I think he's gonna win today. I hope, because I actually just bet it while he was talking. So not a whole lot else going on today. Just Olympic golf. I've decided to pretty much just take it easy on that. Not only that, they haven't even graded round 2 bets because of the suspension in play. So there's some players that are still not even done with their round 2. And this course sucks. Like, this course is easy. So a couple guys are going to shoot 6, 7 under every day. Somebody's going to shoot 8. There might be a 9 under at some point. Someone is going to go out there and wreck it once a day. Somebody's going to put 2 of those together and get to 20 under and win this tournament. So this is a crapshoot. I guess I do have some USA to win the gold, plus any little bit helps on my USA over bet. So we'll cheer for Xander. Pam had Mito as her long shot on approaching the green. He is 8 under, 3 back off the lead, but he is in a tie for third with a few others. So he's mighty live. And then Johnny Vegas not too far back. I added him. That was one of Pam's wild card or freestyle picks. I've added him top 20. I found a plus 130, I think, on him, and he's sitting there. I mean, he's 5 off the lead, but he is in a tie for 11th. So the only guy, and I joked about Rory, the only guy I really will cheer against is Hideki Matsuyama. I cannot have Japan winning any more golds at this point. They're already overperforming in judo and fencing and everywhere. All the marginal coin flips are going their way. It's really driving me up a wall. So probably not looking at much for round 3. If I do have anything, I'll put it out. But the daily stuff has been marginal. I hit that 3 ball, pushed one, and the rest has been kind of shit. I did play 3 full tournament matchups. Didn't talk about them on here because I didn't have them quite ready yet, but they are. If you ever want to see all my golf stuff, I put it out in the blog every week. So Answer over Reed and Rosner over Schwab are both up by 1. And then Vegas over Hughes is up by 5. So I had 3 full tournament matchups. They're all up at the moment. I don't get the benefit of cashing one with the cut. That doesn't happen here. There is no cut. So I'll sweat those for 2 more days or nights, I suppose. And Alex, you'll be back in the studio next week. You're back from the farm? Sure. I believe you.
Yeah, we'll be back in studio. So no more interesting backgrounds, no more of my wife walking behind me with a towel on her head, no more chicken sounds. I don't know if you guys could hear the chicken sounds, but back indoors.
I can hear it. I'll be gone next week. Matt will be stepping in my place. Maybe he'll talk some hockey. Honestly, there's some football that's starting to come up. I might make an appearance from the beach. But yeah, Matt and Alex taking you to town next week, all week on Brown Bag Bets. And of course, we'll close it off with a big thank you to our sponsor, WinBet. Still getting tumblers. I'm still handing these things out. I got a giant box of tumblers. I want to mail you one. Sign up for WinBet. Take advantage of your $500 risk-free bet. All the details at BETSPERTS on Twitter. Get us your info. We'll take care of you there. And you know what? Have a really good weekend. I'm gonna. See you guys. Bye, Alex.